Suffering Podcast. Not every problem or pain that hits you out of nowhere happens all at once. Often difficulties are a slow-moving animal that creeps up in the night, and it's on top of you before you realize. The issues are often in plain sight, so we're blind to their existence. The moment of realization is when you're trapped in an event. The road leading up to that difficulty is a long, stretched out, and winding road. Only when you're deep inside the journey does it become very clear. Now you're stuck in a place that took a long time to arrive and will take even longer to escape. You see this overwhelming demon that will not go away no matter how hard you try. All you can do is prepare for a long and arduous battle. I'm Kevin Donaldson, always here with Mike Falace, and welcome to the Suffering Podcast. If you're a fan of overcoming adversity and overcoming suffering, then we're for you, because that's what we do here, and that's the stories that we highlight. So do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, please comment, ring the bell so you can get notified of all of our new content, and now you can join. And follow us on all social media so you can find out what we're up to when we're up to it. On this episode of the Suffering Podcast, it's a gentleman who I've been speaking with for quite some time. We're going to talk about the suffering of willpower with Will Gordon. Will joins us all the way from New England. I hope you're not a Patriots fan, please.
Oh, I'm a big Patriots fan. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Decade of dominance. What can I tell you?
Yeah, you know what? The past is the past is history, and the future's a mystery. And the future for New England's a big mystery. But thank you for coming all this way for come down here, because you got a story where you went into the darkness in a way that very few people are going to understand. But you got yourself out of it, and that's what we're here to talk about.
All right, let's get into it.
Before we get into anything, let's throw a big shout out to our marquee sponsor. That's Toyota of Hackensack. We don't trust anybody as police, and we certainly don't trust anybody as podcasters, but we do trust the guys over at Toyota Hackensack. So if you're looking for a car, go to toyotahackensack.com and let them find you a car. Also tell them the Suffering Podcast sent you. So, Will, each week we take a question from our audience. This one comes from Pen and Paper. How has your perspective on life changed over the years? You know, we never stay in the same place once. So as we evolve, our life outlook just sort of changes just here and there. So what do you think? How's your life perspective changed over the years?
I would say my life has completely changed just within the past 2 years. Everything that I had to go through, everything I underwent with my medical issues, and we'll get into what those were, but they were very severe. So the second that I woke up from all those issues, and I saw my wife's beautiful face, and I held her hand for the first time, and I felt at peace for once, you know, and I was living in hell for about 20 years or so plus.
You know, sobriety is one of those journeys where when you get sober, or when you make that conscious decision to get sober, you just know. I can't explain it. I've been there. It's an event. It really is. Like everybody says that healing is a process, not an event. Well, sobriety is an event. You might not get sober when you have that, but I remember the moment where I'm like, I got to get my life together, man. I can't do this no more.
Yes. Yeah. And that's how it was. I was constantly living in fear. You know, I was a fear-based person, and getting my life together was impossible. And it was impossible primarily because of my alcohol use disorder.
My perspectives have changed over the years. If I go back and I look at myself as a child, I was an angry child. And I look at myself as a young man, I was a confused young man. The one word that has entered into my lexicon, into my whole personality, is the word grace.
Mm-hmm.
Grace is a strange thing, because you have to give grace to other people who may have made the best decisions that they could possibly make for their particular moment, but it might not align with what you believe. And then you have to give grace to yourself.
Yeah.
What I've learned in the back nine of my life, in the latter part of my life, is I've learned to give those people grace, but I've also learned to give myself grace. And what I mean by grace is the room and the breath in order to make mistakes and recover from them. Because if you take a mistake and you don't learn from it, I say it at the end of every show, you know, if you don't learn from your mistakes, what a wasted opportunity that is. So I've taken all those bad things that I've done, all those mistakes that I've done. I've given myself a little bit of grace. I've also taken the mistakes that other people have enacted on me, and I've given them some grace. Sometimes it's harder. You know, sometimes it's harder. And you'll hear this from a lot of people. Well, you know, I'll forgive, but I don't forget. Well, that's not true forgiveness, and that's certainly not true grace.
Mm-hmm.
I pray every day to take pain out of my heart that somehow sticks in me to say I won't forget, and because that's not full forgiveness to me. So my perspective has changed in one word. My perspective has changed in the word grace.
Yeah.
So pen and paper, thank you so much for sending that question in. And keep sending in your questions, and we will try to get them on the air.
I'm really glad you brought up grace, because that's something that I adhere to as far as like constantly talking about it. Like my suffering was my grace. Did I notice that when I was in the thick of it? Absolutely not. But in hindsight, as I've gotten my life together, as I figured everything out, as I've gotten my physical body back to where I needed to be, and my mind and the clarity of sobriety has all helped, encompass and embrace this. It's now grace is now a huge factor of like how I approach life. Uh, the every single difficult thing that I've ever endured, there's a sliver of grace attached to it, and to have that perspective always, I think, is really healthy.
Well, it's never a healthy thing to sit there and beat yourself up constantly. Listen, you got to look in the mirror, and you got to have that hard conversation. And through that hard conversation, you're allowed to just let it go, because whatever's going on, whatever problem you have, whatever addiction you have, or whatever mistake you made, if you sit there and you keep replaying it in your head, it holds space in your mind rent-free. And you're just allowing it to take over your mind. Allowing that to say, hey, I made a mistake. I screwed up. Now let me fix this problem. Let me repair this problem. And that's the grace that I'm talking about, to give you that room in order to grow from whatever you did wrong.
Right.
So you drove all this way, and you're from
I'm like 10 minutes outside Boston, the safe suburbs, we'll call it.
Yeah, Boston's a little different. Boston used to be a great area. I mean, I've been to Boston many times.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. You go down to
it's
Cheers.
Very different. It's very different now. Yeah, very different. It's a lot more yuppie. I mean, the whole Seaport area is like, you need to be making 120, 130 plus just to even survive there.
You don't want to say that in New Jersey. You need to do that just to live in New Jersey.
Yeah.
But it was always just it was an old city, it had tons of history in there. And I always enjoyed going to Boston. I mean, listen, I went down to Cheers, which was the biggest disappointment I ever went through in my life.
Yeah, I could have let you know that before if we knew each other.
I'm watching the TV show my whole life, and you go down to Cheers and like,
this isn't it.
This is just,
where's Norm? He's not.
This is just a bar.
Yeah.
Like, what is going? But it's also got some really, really cool history in there, and that's where the Revolutionary War started. I'm a big history guy, so I love that stuff. So why don't you tell our audience a little bit about how you grew up, and we obviously know where you grew up.
So I grew up in a very competitive family. I'm the youngest of four boys. So big family, big athletic family. My dad was a Hall of Fame hockey coach, so high standards right from the jump.
Where do you coach?
He was a hockey coach for Shawshene Tech High School. It's out kind of where I live now. And he was such a good coach that they put him in the Hall of Fame, and he won in 1984 the Division State 3. They won it all, and he always had successful teams. So he was a teacher. He would always say this: "I'm a teacher first, coach second," kind of thing. So he would teach his students and coach them all under one roof of the building. And he really was kind of like from that camp of old school tough love, right?
But that's a great. So being a teacher and a coach, they kind of work hand in hand, because I do. I coach youth football. And whenever we had a problem, like the school resource officers would contact us, hey, we're starting to have a problem with this kid. Can you do what they would call a field adjustment?
Yeah.
And we would get them on the field and say, hey, look, you straighten up in school or this goes away. You kind of use it as leverage on them. And those two things, if it's done properly, can work hand in hand and produce a better student.
Yeah. And he would always say, too, like they get to see a different side of you on the field, on the rink, on the ice, whatever. That they wouldn't normally see, because he was a really stern, strict teacher. He just was. So to see him crack a smile or say something, even remotely with a little bit of levity within it, was very rare. So the kids, they respected the hell out of him, but it was tough love, just like how he was raising us, myself and my three older brothers.
His job was to raise young men,
right?
And that's as a father of two boys, it's a very big responsibility to raise two well-adjusted, kind young men, especially in today's society.
I was going to say, in today's climate, it's even more challenging.
Yeah, well, everybody tries to be equal, and we're not equal. Are you ready to enhance your skills and provide the best care to those who need it the most? I'm Kevin Donaldson.
I'm Sherry Alsop. Our trauma-informed training is here to help, and we've been traveling across the country delivering this essential need to departments and organizations of every size, shape, and makeup.
We come to you with on-site training so you don't have to worry about travel or scheduling conflicts.
This isn't just a class, it's an interactive experience. You'll learn directly from subject matter experts who teach from a victim's point of view, putting you in the shoes of those who have experienced trauma.
This approach allows you to understand trauma on a deeper level and to better serve the individuals you work with.
We'll guide you through new interview techniques that prioritize a victim-centered approach, ensuring safety and empathy in every conversation.
And for those of you in law enforcement or other fields, our training includes post-credits, giving you the extra added value and recognition for your commitment to professional growth.
We offer references upon request to show just how effective our training can be.
Don't miss the opportunity to improve your understanding of trauma and make a real difference in the lives of those you serve. Get in touch with us today by going to sherryalsop.com and let us bring trauma-informed training to your organization.
Together, we can make a lasting impact.
Right.
Men and women are different for a reason.
Right.
Women are better at some things than we are, and men are better at things than women are.
Sure.
And we complement each other. Once you start seeing those differences and celebrating those differences, that's when the growth happens. But you grew up in a stern household. What kind of effect did that have on you? Was it a lot of pressure?
Oh, tons of pressure. Yeah. And my older brothers were better athletes than I was. So it was a constant struggle of like, oh, how do I keep up at their pace, at their level, at their competitiveness? You know, their athletic abilities were far greater than mine. And not that mine was any, you know, I wasn't a Scribini or anything like that, but just constantly having to, you know, like, where do I level up here? Like, where do I find myself in the relationship with my brothers? Like, am I here? Am I here? Like, where I never knew where I was, right? I never knew where I stood. And I was more of like a creative person. I wanted to like play music. I wanted like be in like the plays in high school and stuff. But like, you know, I was like a jock. I had like already an identity, but I was kind of like stifled. You know, I was suffering in the sense that I wanted that creative outlet, but I didn't know how to go about it in a healthy way without being reprimanded by my father or my mother, or, you know, whatever the case may be.
Did your father did he ever meet you where you're at?
Yeah.
And what I mean by this is did they ever nurture that creative side? You know, because I see it with my kids, and it was something that was done wrong with me. This is why I'm interested in this question. You know, I was creative and athletic. My creative side was never nurtured. My athletic side was.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it wasn't. I wouldn't call it nurturing. It was like you strike out and you're dog shit. But my creative side was never nurtured. It wasn't until I got older that I had the ability to nurture my own creativity. And I didn't really like that. So I see that with my boys. My one boy is ultra creative. My other boy is ultra athletic. And I kind of meet them where they're at.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's healthy. That's kind of like what you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah. But, you know, listen, I don't know. How old are you?
39 now.
You're 39, so your father is probably 60-something?
He was 74. He passed away in 2004. Yeah. He just
sorry
passed away. It's okay.
Oh, so he was
Yeah, well, because 3 older brothers, so I was 37 when he passed away.
So he was the baby boomer.
Yes.
He was the quintessential baby boomer.
Mm-hmm.
And these people who came back from war, was your grandfather in the war?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
both of them.
it was a tougher mentality there. You suck it up, rub some dirt on it, get back out there, walk it off.
Yeah.
Man, that's a tough way. It's for somebody who's creative, for somebody who's like-minded to that, it's an easy way to live. Yeah. But for somebody who's creative, that is a tough way to live.
Yeah, it felt like I was never genuinely being myself or expressing myself the way that I saw fit. You know, I what I wanted to feel, what I wanted to experience. Right.
How did it present itself?
The frustration was more of a lack of not knowing how to walk the waters of like my dad's expectations, things like that. So it was constant fear. I was just constantly in fear of like what he might say, how he might react. If I would offer like, hey, I wanted to learn this or whatever, you know, he'd be like, well, yeah, that's great, but you know, make sure you get this done first, and like make sure you get good grades, and you're doing all the athletic stuff and make sure all that's still there. But yeah, you can explore that kind of thing. So he wasn't like rigid in that in like every sense, and he was a loving, caring, great father. But there was also a lot to him that was from that old from the old school way of the tough love and because I'm sure I didn't get to meet my own grandfather, but I know he was like my father, but 10 times more strict and rigid rather, and so it just has a it's hard to talk about my father because I loved him so much, but on the same end of it, there was a lot of the things that I messed up with that I definitely think I was trying to appease him a lot of the times. And I think because he liked to drink, I also kind of fell suit into that as well.
You become what you see, right?
Yeah.
You become that person that you and they did to some extent. You're on the back end of a millennial, I guess.
Yeah, I'm like right in the sweet spot of being a millennial.
So you're
I was born in 86. So.
Okay, so you're right in the middle of millennial. I'm Gen X, and I know a lot of Gen Xers who had children, and they went so far the other way that it's actually as negative as that type of mindset raising children. You have a father such as yours, and my father to some extent was very similar. This is the way it's done. Do it this way, and that's it. And then Gen X had kids, and they were like, well, I'm not going to be my parent, so I'm going to let the kid do whatever the hell they want to do. And that's not healthy either.
Right.
So where's the butter zone in there?
Yeah, and that's, as a teacher, we're constantly dealing with that because I taught for 15 years. So I was always, in a contradictory position as like, okay, well, I know I need to push this student, right? But it's almost like I can't push them anymore because I'll just get just rattled off with parent emails, administration not having your back anymore. There's so many reasons why I left teaching, but that was a lot of it. That was a lot of it. Was like bring out the best, the highest potential of each student when you can, but they also love to have boundaries. Like students, like kids, adolescents in general, they want rules, they want boundaries because without it, it's just like, what are we doing? What are they? They're not learning. There's
no virtue.
Yeah, no virtue. That's a better way to put it. Yeah.
There's no virtue without a boundary. If you have, how are you going to know if you're doing well if there is no metric?
That's true, right? I mean, does everyone get A? Like, does everyone get trophies? I mean, what did that do to the generation that we're seeing coming up right now, right?
That's the kids of Gen X. Everybody gets a trophy. Everybody gets a participation trophy. No, sometimes you got to learn how to lose.
Yeah, and I honestly, from every failure in my life, every single one, I have learned something in that, in that instance, in that moment in time in my life. There was some lesson there. Whether that I didn't get the trophy, I'd be like, well, I guess I gotta like hit the batting cages next year a little harder, right? And then maybe I'll get a trophy. Like there's that intrinsic reward built into the challenge. So, but we think we're all on the same level when it's just life isn't fair. So why are we teaching that to our children?
So your father passed in 2004, and he's this constantly driven.
2024.
2000. Oh, I thought you said 2000.
I might have. But it's 2024.
You figure he was a Red Sox fan?
Die hard, yes.
Well, you figured he'd be used to losing. So.
Well, he did. Well, 2004 is when we did win, and I thought he almost did die because he was so happy.
It's a hard way to live, and then children will cope in certain ways. You'll see it, and if you ever coached youth sports, you'll see personalities start to change when things are going wrong in their life because that's how a kid will present. For you, and you saw your father, he liked to drink. And I'm not sitting here shitting on your father. Please understand that. But if you see that all the time, when did you start experimenting with alcohol? Oh,
I was young. I was really young. I was 14. Yeah. So actually, I think I was even younger than that. I think my Italian grandfather, my grandmother remarried when my mother's dad passed away when she was young, when she was 18. So she remarried. But I was very close with him, and I remember him slipping me little things of shot glasses of wine, like Italian wine.
Oh, forget it, man. That stuff's like moonshine.
And I remember being like, oh, it doesn't taste good, but like, I like this feeling. And I was young. I was probably like a kid, like a child. And then I willingly tried it when I was 14.
I've subscribe to that. Like when I was drinking, I would let them have a sip and stuff, and I don't know whether it's the right thing to do. I really don't. I'm kind of torn on it. To expose them, because the thinking is okay, well, I'm going to expose them to this under controlled circumstances, under controlled environment, and I'm going to allow them to feel whatever they're feeling rather than they're going to do it when they're a teenager, rather than allow them to do it then and under a circumstances that could create some chaos. So that's the thinking of it. I don't know whether that's the right thing.
Yeah. I go back and forth with that as well, because you want to give them autonomy over life. You want them to mess up, right? So they make mistakes and then they learn from those mistakes.
Just not too bad.
But not too bad, right? But you also want them to know the ways of the world, and you want them to be responsible humans, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it is, because if you look at the statistics, like, I mean, like, what's the drinking age over in Europe? It's like 18, right? Something like that. So, and their DUIs are way less. Like, their domestic abuse issues with alcohol being a big proponent of that is much less. Like, so if you're introduced to it at a younger age, and it's not such a big deal like it is here when you hit 21, it's like, okay, like, let's have like a bachelor party style party tonight, like that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, but then again, on the other end of the coin, on the other side of it, there is like, okay, well, if I can kind of have some control over like watching it, seeing it, and like knowing that if it's going to happen, it might as well be here under my roof. There's a lot of parenting like that too. So I'm not really sure which one is better. I don't know if there is one. I think it's just like figure out the personality of your child and kind of hope that you're making the best decision in that moment.
I've taken this approach with my kids. Education, right? I'll educate my kids and I say, listen, I'm not a fool to think that you're never going to have a sip of alcohol. You're never going to try a drug. I'm not that foolish of a person. However, I'm just going to tell you this. I have the addictive gene in me. You have the addictive gene in you. And I'm sure when you took your first drink of alcohol, you didn't know you had that in you. I didn't know I had it in me. There are people out there who can take one drink of alcohol and never touch it again, take one line of cocaine, insert drug here, whatever you want, and be fine and never do it again. But then there are the other ones who will take one drink of alcohol and they were like, this is it for me. One of the best scenes I ever saw was in The Simpsons. Barney, all right, the drunk friend.
Yes.
He's like this straight-laced student, and Homer comes over one day with a 6-pack of beer. He's like, "No, Homer, I gotta study and stuff." Takes one drink of beer, and like instantly he turns into Barney.
Yeah.
And he actually looks and he goes, "Where you been all my life?" And then he becomes.
I know what scene you're referring to. It's a very famous from the older seasons. Yeah, he was like the straight A student, and then all of a sudden he's like, whoa, and he burps, and then
where you been all my life?
And where you been all my life?
And I tell my kids, I say, you never know which one you're going to be. The only way to find out is to do it. And if you want to roll those dice, you got to be prepared to pay the consequences.
Yeah.
So I think I've been successful. I got a 16-year-old, so I think I've been successful. But again, I don't 100% know. So when you were 14, what was the drink?
It was just a beer. We would drink beers in the woods, and I took a beer out of a friend's garage, like one of his fathers.
Thinking you're cool and everything, right?
Well, it wasn't my idea actually at the time. It was my friend. It was his dad. So we're like, but I definitely encouraged it. I said, hey, like. Well, because I have 3 older brothers, so like I saw the drinking, I saw like what their mistakes were. I knew that I wasn't like them, so I wouldn't make those kind of mistakes. That's what I thought, at least. But the first time I cracked that beer, I remember we were like passing it around like almost like an ayahuasca experience. We're all just like, here you go, you're up next. And I remember just getting to my turn and then having it and then just polishing off like the rest of it and being like, wow, like that was. It didn't taste good, but like I love how I feel right now. Like it was the first moment of my life where I felt genuinely, authentically 100% me, if that makes any sense.
Well, so did you see your person when you got a little buzz on?
Yeah. So 10 minutes goes by, and all of a sudden, like I'm like lighter. I'm smiling. I'm making jokes. I'm social. I'm like thinking like without that, the barrier of self being self-conscious and I'm just free. I felt free. I felt free for the first time, and I just wanted more. Like that's what scared me. It was like I want like 10 more of these, and like how do I get that? Like that was very, very odd.
what came out in your personality that was suppressed under normal circumstances?
My confidence. I had zero confidence.
There you go.
There you go. Right. I wanted to be the funny, popular kid. I wanted to be the one that you could like roll up in the high school hallways and like, what's up, man? How you doing? Like, and I was that sometimes, but it felt fake. It felt forced. Now it didn't feel forced anymore. I just was that person. I was like this charismatic, charismatic person, just cracking jokes, like making friends, getting into new cliques of like friendships in different areas of the school that I wouldn't normally, find myself surrounded by. So like it made me a little more popular, it made me more well liked. All these things that I craved as a child, I craved admiration. I craved having a secure self of confidence, self being, being comfortable in my own skin, just to put it very frankly. And then I found it with alcohol, like immediately. And then I thought to myself, and this is what's so poignant and so profound about the whole experience of drinking at 14 was I knew even then, I like this too much and I'm not even allowed to drink it yet. So what is high school going to look like for me?
I used to go into high school. Now I looked older than I was, so I was able to go in and buy it. And my drink of choice, because I'm a poor high school student, was, did you guys have Mad Dog up there? MD 2020?
MD 2020. That's always the drink I reference on my own show when we're talking about it. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, Mad Dog.
Worst hangovers in the world. And there's a postscript to that. But I used to get Kiwi Lime, which was the green one. And
that was the strawberry banana.
And I would drink it I would drink a whole bottle before I went into high school in the morning.
Mm.
And I'd go in there and I'd last the whole day. Sometimes I'd fall asleep, sometimes I wouldn't, but I felt better. I felt like I could deal with a lot of stuff. Fast forward, I had a family reunion in 2010, and for old time's sake, somebody buys me a bottle of Mad Dog 2020.
Yeah, for like a joke.
And I was drinking heavy prior to that. I was drinking a lot. My one saving grace is I don't like beer. Thank God I don't like beer, but I'll drink everything else. So I'm drinking. Somebody puts Mad Dog, and I drink the whole damn bottle.
Yeah.
I woke up, and for 3 days later, my liver hurt. Like,
I'm sure.
Like there was a pain.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't. Oh, this is so bad. And the sugar. God damn.
Oh yeah, yeah. The hangover off of Mad Dog is there's like every other hangover, and then there's like the Mad Dog hangover. And I bet there's so many people listening right now who are like, what are they talking about? Like we don't know. That doesn't exist anymore. I think it does, but you got to go to find it. You
have to. So unfortunately, they do sell it in the inner cities.
Yeah.
You have to go into the inner cities because suburban liquor stores do not own it.
Yeah.
If I'm ever in a liquor store now and I can walk into them just like everybody else, I'll always look for it. And every once in a while, if I'm in a different part of the country and I'll go into a supermarket because they're in the supermarkets, and I'll go, oh my God, look, they got Mad Dog.
Yeah, it is. It's like it's finding a unicorn. It's like, oh, there it is. I remember those.
It's like looking at a baseball card from when you were 12.
And I actually don't eat, like when I see alcohol now, like there's certain brands, certain types. I get like the ick, right? I'm like, oh, I can feel it, I can smell it, like from bad nights. But with Mad Dog, I don't know. I see it, and it's just a reminiscence of a time long gone.
Nobody chooses to drink Mad Dog.
No.
So throughout your high school, did the drinking progress?
Oh yeah. So I was an athlete. So I played hockey, I played lacrosse, I played football.
But hockey drinking is like part of the culture.
I would say it's more part of the culture when you get a little older, like when get to college kind of. But even in high school, it was definitely part of the culture. What am I talking about? Yeah, it was a big part of the culture. We had a coach that was strict though. He would always have curfew nights, so we were always kind of like held under his thumb. But when it wasn't hockey season, it was just like a random Wednesday, Thursday night. Yeah, we would just go drink in the woods. That was kind of our thing.
I grew up on the Broad Street Bullies. I'm a Flyers fan.
Oh God, yes, I know.
All right, so they used to leave the Spectrum, and there was a bar right in front of the Spectrum, and they'd all go hang out in the bar and just get plastered all night. As a matter of fact, the worst fight I ever got into was Tim Kerr. Tim Kerr used to be the captain of the Flyers, and he had just lost his wife. He's retired, just lost his wife, and he brought Rod Brindamore and Eric Lindros into the bar, and he was getting aggravated, and I just was trying to keep him from killing somebody. I was bouncing, and I just went up behind him and gave him a bear hug. Next thing you know, I get punched in the head.
I mean,
Eric
Lindros is like one of the biggest hockey players and strongest hockey players that like ever lived.
He's bigger than you think he is.
Yeah.
And Tim Kerr's head looked like a spare tire. So all I was trying to do was keep Kerr from killing somebody. And listen, I got an apology because they didn't know what I was trying to do. They thought I was trying to attack them. So I get it. It wasn't my smartest move, but still, I mean, so drinking to them that's what they do, and they fight.
Oh,
and that's
yeah.
what they do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of woven in with, it almost should come with like your player card, you know, when you get drafted, like, okay, like how much you gonna, you know, how much do you party? Cause yeah, the hockey boys, they take it to a different level for sure.
Now, did your father ever see you a little tuned up?
Yeah, but it was always at, you know, of legal drinking age time.
Oh, he never saw you prior.
Oh man, I was so scared of him that I never wanted him to ever catch me drinking like in front of him, anything like that, like family parties, nothing. No, nothing like that.
What do you think he would have done?
Oh, he would have ripped me apart. One time I had a house party and he would yell all the time, and the house party got, you know, one friend called another friend, you know how it goes, and then through the grapevine, like half my high school's over the house, and one of the girls she couldn't find. This is a tangent story, but I'll get there. She couldn't find any toilet paper, so she used paper towels, flushed it down the toilet, and then it blew up the like the septic system, and the brand new hardwood floor just got warped, like literally put in the week before. And I've never heard my dad not raise his voice and be as scary as a human can possibly be without raising a voice. You know, that was my dad.
Oh, he did one of those, like, we're going to take care of this right now.
Well, he was like, where are you? Because I was so scared of him that I ran away to a friend's house down Cape Cod. I'm like, that's how immature and like, you know, juvenile I was.
Think it's going to go away?
I'm like, well, you know, it's funny because that's how I approach a lot of the bad things in my life, the challenging things, the things I didn't want to deal with. I used alcohol as that coping mechanism, but with my father in this moment, run as far as you can get, and don't look back until you have to.
How'd that work out for you?
Oh, not well. No, not well at all. Not well at all. And that was like I was in college, and little would he find out 3 years after that, I would continue to mess up with my drinking, and we can get into that. But and then I got a DUI my senior year of college, and then that he did yell, and he was really disappointed in that, and I was disappointed in myself. That was a stupid decision that I shouldn't have ever done, because drinking and driving to me was always something that, like, it just pissed me off, because it was just such an avoidable thing to, you know, that was such a prevalent part of just society in America. It's people getting shit-faced and driving around. Like, it's just crazy.
The crazy part about it is, when I was in high school, the person who drove was the best drunk driver, was the one who could do it. I mean, I'm not here to cast stones, because I've done it a million times.
Right.
Now, did your father take any type of culpability in you getting a DUI?
Yeah.
Which is indicative that there's an issue.
Oh,
Okay.
100%. Yeah, writing was on the wall. There was, you know, things happened before that too.
So did he ever once become introspective and say, hey, listen, maybe I might have had some part in this?
He never took any accountability of it. You know, not until what happened to me, and we'll get to what happened to me, because it's very intense, but not until that happened, and then he got to see me improve well enough to have like that clarity moment of, oh, like, maybe I did have some part of this.
Well, it's nice that he finally saw it.
Yeah, and he didn't say it to me. I heard through, you know, from one of his best friends, who then told me at his wake, believe it or not. And that rattled me. It did, because it made me actually appreciate him more and forgive him, because he was probably thinking that his whole life. You know, like, did I have some kind of influence on him, and, you know, a negative influence with his drinking, you know, and my other brothers.
Well, parents, they have a tendency to own their children's mistakes and say, okay, I must have did something wrong. Because especially with a young child, you know, you're in high school right now, you're in college, you don't know anything, and you think you do, but you don't.
Right.
And somewhere you learn this behavior. You didn't just invent it. You're not the first person to develop drinking.
Right.
So where did they learn it from? And as a parent, you start to think, well, okay, maybe I didn't do this right. And bring that self-awareness in there. It's not like you can change anything, but at least you can have a little bit better understanding of the issue.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that also had to do with, like, I was a pretty good student. You know, I never missed class. I was always like that that was that son, and then the brother who's closest in age with me was a little more of the wild child. So a lot of attention, the squeaky wheel gets the grease kind of situation. And there was 4 wheels, 4 brothers, so he definitely got most of the grease. But he needed that grease. I mean, like he's a work in progress, and I love my brother to death, but he's struggling. He struggles a lot. So, and I think my dad put a lot of responsibility on that. I think he felt really shameful and regretful of how because his whole motto, his whole teaching style, his whole framework of his identity was like strict, do the right thing when no one's looking. Like that was his. Like if I could sum up my dad in just like 3 words, like do the right thing when no one's looking. So that's always hovering and replaying in my brain. And he was that kind of person, which was interesting about him. But on the other end of that token was this person, much like myself, suffering on the inside and using alcohol to cope with the issues of like my brother and financial constraints and just watching him deteriorate as he got older was really difficult, because it was really interesting in the sense that like when my alcoholism really kicked up and my wife and I had to move back in with my folks, and this is in 2021. This is like not that long ago. That's how bad it was. That's how sick I was. I noticed like a different side of him. Like I noticed like his alcoholism wasn't like mine. He would like white knuckle it, almost like that old school style, like, wait until 5 o'clock. He would never drink. I would never see him drink before 5 p.m. But then, he would have 1 Jack Daniels, then he would have 2, then he would have 3, then sometimes he would have 4, sometimes he would have 5, you know what I mean? And then he would get progressively a little louder and less like himself and just a little more abrasive. And that came with his age, but I don't remember that as a child. Like, I don't think that was going on. I don't ever remember him being like a mean drunk, ever, never. So
depends on what you drink. Have him put wild turkey in him to see how his demeanor changes.
Yeah, tequila, whatever.
Yeah,
yeah. He was always a Jack Daniels man. So
now, what was as it progresses?
Mm-hmm.
You're out of college. Did you start teaching right away?
I did, yeah.
Right.
So I graduated 2009, started teaching as a substitute teacher for 2 years, right out of college.
And you were probably on time to work.
Yeah.
You're probably successful, did a good job. You hit it well. I see this with a lot of people with alcohol problems. A lot of times they're very successful in whatever field they choose. And that's that you're hiding in plain sight. And people are seeing you do this stuff, but they're saying, you know what? Guy shows up to work all the time. I'm going to stay in my lane. I'm going to shut my mouth. Shows up to work. He does a good job. He's got it. He might drink, but he's got his life together. So a lot of those sins are forgiven.
Yeah. I was a walking contradictory character. I mean, like on paper, yes, I'm a teacher. I'm going to work. I'm not missing work. I would eventually start missing work as the alcoholism ramped its ugly head. But those first 5-10 years, first 5-7 years were actually pretty good. I did 2 years as a high school sub, and then I went and taught 1 year as I was like a liaison for a very high need, like it's almost like a last chance U high school in outside one of the cities outside Boston. And that I had like chairs thrown at me. It was just like chaotic. I'm like, I need to get out of this. So I went and I taught in a Montessori middle school for 3 years. And that was actually like the best 3 years of my teaching. I wasn't drinking very much. I was making a pretty decent salary, and I liked what I was doing. I was just enjoying it. But after those 3 years, I caught Lyme disease. I was in Martha's Vineyard with my class, and we did a lot of these like adventure, you learn as you do kind of thing. So we're in the woods, we're camping, and then I get Lyme disease, and I couldn't do the training because you have to be a Montessori trained teacher, and you have to go out, and there's only 2 places you can do that, one in like Texas and like one in Ohio. And I went to the one in Ohio from that previous year, but I couldn't go back and finish it. So I basically lost my job because I couldn't finish the training, and everyone had to be AMS, American Montessori Society certified before I go back. So right then I was in a really weird situation where I'm like, well, I don't have a job now. I got to go find a job. What do I do? So I find the first job that I could as a new teacher, and it was at a different middle school in the north end of Boston. In this class, like I I was so like, it was so above me. Like the behavior issues were just so prevalent, and the most challenging group of kids I've ever taught in my entire career were all just thrown into my classrooms with like no breaks because it was a Catholic school. And that's when my alcoholism really kicked itself into fourth gear. I mean, it went from like drinking every now and then, like getting a bottle, saving it. Like I would open it on Monday, would still have some on Friday. Now it was, I couldn't wait for the bell to ring. It was 2:30. Boom! I'm running across the street to that liquor store right next to where like they sell the good cannolis or whatever. Grab a giant bottle of Smirnoff, stuff it in my backpack, and just start pouring drinks like on the side while I wait for the MBTA to take me back, to my apartment. So that job in itself was a major factor in the anxiety and the discomfort of that just how challenging that year was.
Well, you're not being successful, or what you think
No,
is successful.
I wasn't being successful.
And you step back into that little kid who, and I'm not I call myself a rogue unlicensed therapist. Okay, which means I have absolutely zero training in therapy. But what I'm seeing is you step back into the role of that small child who was in competition with their brothers, who didn't know where the metric for success was, and it's the same thing here. It's you're not doing the job that you set out to do. You don't really kind of know where you sit in there.
Yeah.
So alcohol is the perfect way to do it. But what's a normal drinking day for you when you're in your worst of the worst times?
When I was at my worst,
Yeah.
it was drink a 1.75 milliliter, the handles they call them. I would drink, I would go through one bottle every 2.5 days.
You ever get tuned up before school?
I would be so drunk from trying to sleep with alcohol in my system that I would be worried about having to like get into the car and drive like safely to school.
So you're still drunk? Oh yeah. Well,
I never physically like grabbed booze out of a bag and drink it like ever in front of a kid or put it in like a coffee mug. I had a teacher that actually did that. We caught him like back in high school. But anyways, I never physically did that. So that in my mind was like, well, at least you're not doing that. But I'm hungover. I'm not showing up for these kids. These kids deserve heroes, and here I am like a villain, like showing up.
You're still like a 1-0 going in to teach first period.
Yeah, and by the time 11 a.m. would roll around, I would be so exhausted because I wasn't getting any sleep. My appearance was changing. I was putting on weight like crazy.
I saw the photos.
Yeah, they're intense. They're intense, right, Kevin? So I was doing these things. I was becoming this version of myself that I did not recognize anymore, and I wasn't willing to admit that I can't have a drinking problem. Like, I'm the teacher. I'm teaching them civics. I'm teaching them about like the Constitution. I'm teaching them about the Bill of Rights. I'm talking like, law and order. Like everything was like I was doing all those things, but here I am walking in, right? I would get there early too because I would be worried that like I would run into someone that I didn't want to see. So I would always get there early before anyone can kind of like get this close to me and maybe catch a wind of what my breath might have smelled like.
How long did this go on for?
So 2018, 19 was when I started working at that school. 2020, the pandemic hit. So from March until the end of that year was just full-fledged alcoholism because now I'm at home. Now it's like teaching, but like you're giving them busy work to do pretty much. Like, okay, get this done, write this paper, give me a journal entry about this, and this, and then send it to me. I'll correct it and give it back.
And so nobody's smelling anything.
And now it's safe because I'm home. My wife's at work, right? So that's like two obstacles out of the way of my goal of just drinking as much as I can now. I'm frustrated because I'm not making any money at that job. Like that job I was almost breaking even because I had to drive into Boston. There was nowhere to park, and the parking was like $42 a day. So I was like literally losing money as I was going into this horrible job every day. Teaching is not horrible. I love teaching, but just this one school was very difficult. And then that just ramped up the alcoholism. I was drinking every day now, and that went on from 2020 to 2023 is what happened. And what happened was I drank myself to 2 weeks left of my life.
What was the first signs that something's going on?
So after that year ended, I was like, I'm out. Got to find a new job. Found an awesome substitute job where all I had to do was go in for like 6 months and teach basically just like social studies, civics to 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders at a school for kids who have like who are on the spectrum. You know, they have autism and things like that. So not so much behavior stuff, which is like, okay, good, I don't have to worry about that. So I really enjoyed it. But I was so heavy into my alcoholism at this point that the damage was already done, right? The writing was already on the wall. The abuse of over and over and over of drinking, just copious amounts of vodka, just every single day, just putting in water bottles, running around, sticking them in under my car so my wife wouldn't hear the rattling. Like there's so much to my story when it comes to how I hid my alcohol use disorder that it could last 17 podcasts long. I was a mechanic. I was like I was like a scientist in the sense that I knew exactly how to level it. I knew exactly what the sound would make. I knew exactly where to hide it so my wife wouldn't find it. And then she eventually would find it, and then that would be a whole nother.
I was fortunate. My wife's only 5'2", so high shelves were my saving grace.
My wife's the opposite. She's like taller than me.
That was my saving grace. I knew if I put certain things in the garage, and I had them all over the place. And the funny thing was, I moved out of that house in 2018 into my current house, and I still found some stuff that I forgot where it was.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's got to be a weird feeling, like finding old stashes.
It's a reminder.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything when you finally make that commitment to sobriety. It kind of just it's like, this is what it is. And I would actually show it to her because so the funny thing was, I was so good, I was able to hide it from her. She didn't know my true extent of alcoholism until I went to her one day, look, I got to check myself into rehab. I can't do this no more.
Wow, that's how it went down, huh?
Yeah. So when what was the first physical sign in you that something's going on here?
Oh, it was my stomach. And I was actually convinced without admitting, because I didn't want to admit yet to my wife that I had a drinking problem. She knew it. Like, she definitely knew it at this point. I mean, after there was a job in between that job, the one that I actually enjoyed doing, where I wasn't making any money. And I was like, okay, like, what can I do to stay sober and then make a couple of extra bucks? So I was like, well, I know one job I could do that where I will definitely can't drink, and that's Uber. So I signed up for Uber. I start driving. I fucking hated it. Like, it was a nightmare. It kept bringing me back into Boston. Like, I'm dealing with like rotaries. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to like hit someone. This is just a nightmare. So that would make more anxiety for me to actually want to drink more. So now what I started to do, and I feel terrible like talking about this, but I have to tell my truth, to speak my truth. So I would lie to my wife. My alcoholism so ramped up at this point that I would get in my car, pull into a side street, get the giant bottle of vodka that I bought the night before, because I knew this was going to happen. It's Monday morning, time to put it in the car. Open it and dump it into the bigger Gatorade bottles, and just dump out half the Gatorade and then dump the other half of vodka. And just dump the other
vodka and Gatorade.
And I would sit there.
Well, Gatorade, the electrolytes absorb the vodka to the point where you can't smell it and you can barely taste it.
Oh yeah, I was, like I said, I was a scientist. I was a mixologist. I was figuring out, okay, what will make my breath stink the least amount? Like, what will give me the least hangover? Like, what will give it was just like madness. Like, how I was trying to figure out. I could have got a PhD in something, but I was doing all this shit instead. So, yeah, so eventually I go in, my wife's like, okay, it's your stomach. I'm like, oh, I'm going to the bathroom weird. I think it's like a GI issue. So this is 2020, late 2020. And my wife's like, you got to go in. So I go in, and the doctor looks at me and he's like, you did like this thing. He's like, whoa, buddy, like, how much are you drinking? Because there was already a tint. I already had the tint of jaundice. And I lied to him. I said, oh, I drink like 2-3 times a week. Like, how many normal drinks? Like, what are you drinking? Like beers? I'm like, no, I like hard drinks. And he's like, okay, well, we got to detox you, man. Like, we just have to. So they detoxed me. And this is what pisses me off about like the healthcare system when it comes to alcoholics and alcohol use disorder and people who are struggling with it, is once they detox you, they kind of like so what are you going to do to maintain your sobriety? I'm like, I don't know, go to AA. Okay. He said he's going to go to AA. Okay. See ya. Like, that's how it ended. And I was like, firstly, I'm like, well, I'm a dry drunk right now. I'm like, like I'm sober right now, but like all I want to do is drink and go back to drinking because it hasn't like clicked yet.
So dry drunk, stick with that for a minute because that's a term that gets thrown out and a lot of people don't understand what a dry drunk is. Dry drunk doesn't mean you're sober. It just means you're sober right now.
Yeah, you're sober, but you're not embracing what sobriety is yet. Yeah. It hasn't clicked yet. It's like an old person being upset with like the like a technology or something.
Yeah.
Like, just not getting it. You know, not embracing it, not being like open to learning new things or trying things out, or just knowing that you have a higher potential that you could be, but not being that version of yourself.
And the way you tell a dry drunk is in a moment's notice, they will go back.
Yeah, because that's how I was. I white knuckled 125 days of sobriety, and I did it without support. Like my wife, kind of like she was in on it. She knew about it. She was proud of me for sure. But at the same time, like she wasn't an alcoholic. She doesn't understand like what's going through my brain, like just how like the compulsion, you know, like the impulse compulsion, like the knowing that it'll just make me feel immediately better right away, like just the physiology of it.
Well, there's also habitual portions to it as well.
Oh, yeah.
So you filled up so much of your day drinking and hiding it and trying to facilitate your addiction that without it there, it's kind of like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
I see it with eating, right? So every once in a while, I'll do an extended fast, right? And you don't realize how much time in your day is taken up with eating. The hardest part about fasting is during your normal meal times, whether it's lunch or dinner, whatever it may be, you'll be like, okay, well, what do I do now? It's kind of like Ricky Bobby. You're like, what do I do with my hands? You know, and that's what happens because drinking for a long portion of your life has been so ingrained into your daily activities.
Yeah, it's habitual.
Now you got to change your way of doing things.
Yeah, and it rewires like your neurochemistry of the brain. Like the more patterns, like it doesn't matter if the pattern is good or bad. If you're repeating a behavior over and over and over again, your body, your brain starts to crave that behavior, even if the behavior is chaotic or cruel, you know, to yourself. Like it doesn't discriminate in that regard.
Pain becomes pleasure.
Yeah.
So you go in, you detox 125 days.
Yep.
You fall off the wagon.
Fall off the wagon. So 125 days, I'm there. But you know, like dry drunk mentality. I'm like, why didn't my life just immediately get better? Like I'm still in debt. I still got to pay off all these student loans that I haven't touched since my bachelor's degree, which was like 10 years before that. Like just bullshit. Like just behavior that like a child would demonstrate, you know, just not a grown man. It drives me crazy thinking about like who I used to be, but it's important that we do talk about it because, you know, you got to own it. You got to own it, man. You just got to own it. Own your mistakes and talk about it open. But yeah, so like that's what happened. Like I was just a dry drunk. I didn't want to embrace it, and I wasn't ready to admit to myself or to anyone else that I had a problem, even though it was such a problem. It was the deepest, darkest hole in my life, and I knew I needed it out of my life, but I just didn't know how to do it. I didn't want to go into AA and get a sponsor. I did do that, but I did it reluctantly. And then I would like text the guy like, "Oh yeah, like I'm good," like just like bullshit, like just deflect. Like don't interfere with me and my alcohol. That was selfish. It was very selfish, ego-driven behavior.
But then when you go back, I'm assuming you went back harder.
Almost like defiant, like to prove everyone like I have free will. I control this will, right? Yeah. I have free will. I can control this will.
You have willpower.
I have willpower. And it's funny, the willpower tagline of my show, the name of my show was the Willpower Podcast, but willpower is not the thing that got me to where I am. I didn't fight my way through it.
Different type of willpower.
Yeah, different type of willpower. And now I'm drinking those big giant bottles. I'm drinking them like every other day. And when I would run out, I would go into like tremor shocks. I would get like the tremors. I would bile puke. And then it got really sad. And then it was becoming like I would get into the car to do the Uber thing. And then I would just park like a street over because I couldn't admit to my wife that I was too scared to drive because I might drink. Like I got the job for Uber so I wouldn't drink because you can't drink. That's like the whole point of Uber. People get fucked up and then they get in your car and then you drive them back, right? I'm sorry, I'm swearing a lot. Is that okay?
You
No, okay.
say whatever you want to say.
So it was a long learning process to like figure out like who am I? What's my identity? How do I get out of this jam? Because I just didn't want to admit it. It was just a constant barrage of alcohol. Alcohol. So, okay, I don't have any money. Oh, I don't want to think about it. Alcohol. My dad is getting older. My parents are aging. I don't want to think about them dying. Alcohol. Oh, my wife is on me again about not having a job. Alcohol. Like every single thing that was going on in my life that was good, the good things like the relationships, all that was now fading. It was all deteriorating right in front of me.
That's the missing piece.
And that's the missing piece.
The missing piece is when you're looking for that continual missing piece, you neglect the things that are there, the pieces that you already have filled in that puzzle.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happens now. But some decisions sort of get chosen for us. So with your alcoholism, you had an event where it was time or it was time to go.
Yeah. So after the 125 days sober, I relapsed. It was a big blow up with my wife over money. Of course, it was always about money. Fell off the wagon. And then it was if I was like, okay, well, now I'm going to prove to everyone that I am a drunk. I am like that person. I'm not going to be like out like lavishly like rubbing it in people's faces because I wasn't that kind of a drinker anyways. I was an isolated drinker. I would drink to pass out every single night and drink, pass out. So by that time, when it was that time in my life, like I am there. I'm back in the hospital, and the same doctors, the same team, they see me again, and I look worse. So, to me, there's a lot of other pieces, but I'm trying to stick to this part of the story. So that second time going back, I see all the same doctors, and it's embarrassing as hell. Like they told me to like go get help, like whatever.
But they knew.
But they also didn't really kind of follow up with like, well, what are you gonna do to maintain this, right? But
to give them some grace, they're kind of moving cattle through the system.
Exactly. And I've been a teacher, so I understand that idea of like, okay, well, we need to get these kids through so like the other kids can graduate. And there's a lot of like second questioning, like, well, this goes against like whatever my beliefs are, but whatever. So, but yeah, so I'm there, I'm back in the hospital, and it's worse now. It's no longer hepatitis of the liver, which it was in 2020. Now it's liver cirrhosis. So I'm in the room, my wife's there, and we both hear liver cirrhosis, and we still, to this day, and I asked her last night before, because I knew what was coming on, and I want to get like my timeline down with her, and she's like, I don't remember that moment, and I'm like, I don't remember that moment either. Like, I think we were both so blown up with the information that was being told to us in that room that we both like kind of like forgot about it, because we knew that more was coming, so...
It's information overload.
Yeah, information overload. So like, I don't know, like trauma can do that. You can like, make those like those feelings come up, and all of a sudden you just like tune it out. So I hear that, and I'm like, okay, well, this is really serious now. You can't, and I knew that you could not reverse liver cirrhosis. You just have to live with it. Change your eating, your diet, all that good stuff. That helps. You can maybe live a long time with that if you're like at like a 15, 16 MELD score. Not me. Now I was so sick. I was dying. I was so jaundiced. My eyes were dark yellow. My skin was paper thin. It was like my stomach was so extended. It was just so extended from all the ascites buildup because my liver could not process the blood anymore, and that blood eventually has to go somewhere, and those fluids have to go somewhere, and it can't clean it, so it just builds up in your body. Yeah, and the bile salts will start making you itchy. It's just a nightmare. And so I'm there, and I'm at the hospital that's near my home, but I'm there for 4 months, and obviously I'm not drinking in those 4 months. But the rule to be considered to get a liver transplant is 6 months, and I was at 4. So they were just doing palliative care on me. They had hospice come in the room at one point. My mother snapped. She was like, "Get the fuck out of here! Like he's not dying. Like we're not gonna let him die." Like she was just like, "He won't die. He's not dying." So we did a lot of that. They just kept like bandaging me up, like checking my levels, making sure this and that. Just trying to keep me comfortable, I guess. but they wouldn't do the transplant. So we have this moment where they release me. And I'm all confused and stuff at this point because I'm just so full of ammonia buildup because of the neurotoxins, and I have like hepatic encephalopathy, HE they call it. It's like when the ammonia builds up so much that it goes into your brain and you start forgetting things, you start saying weird stuff. So your memory can get jogged pretty badly. So as this is all going on and I'm experiencing all of this, I'm in the hospital and now I don't know what to do. So they send me home and I look like death. Like it's Easter of 2023 at this point. And now my family sees me, like my extended family, and they look at me and they're like, and they're smiling. But I am now, my hemoglobin's at a 4. A normal human adult male is 14, 15, 16. I'm at a 4. So I'm falling, I'm fainting, I'm passing out, I'm hitting my head on tables like in front of people now. So now everyone sees all this. So that night they just drove me back to the hospital. And then as I walk in, I see that one of the doctors that said, we can't transplant you here because you're only 4 months sober. But she's like, why are you back? That's like what she said. And I'm like, well, I'm back. Like, I don't know where to go. I'm sick. I'm like dying. So I thought this lady was like the devil. She ends up being like this, like my savior in disguise. So she calls a colleague to someone she helped train become a surgeon out in Western Massachusetts. She makes the call. I follow up with the call. And I get a call that next morning, 6 a.m. Hi, Will. This is Dr. Nasser. I'm at UMass Memorial. Why don't you come over and we'll do an evaluation on you? Because it's not just like, here's a liver transplant. No. It's like, what's your support system like? Do you have insurance? Like,
yeah, they don't want to waste a good liver.
No, they don't want to waste anything, right? Yeah. I mean, it's like $1 million surgery. I mean, it's a huge ordeal. So I get there and now it's all becoming real. So my mother and my father and myself, we're all in this room and we're sitting down in chairs and I'm in a wheelchair at this point. That's how sick I am. And Dr. Nasser and a couple of her colleagues are in the room and they look at me and they said, Will, and they're going over the numbers, the labs, your bilirubin level is elevated, 10x. Your ALT levels, your AST levels, way elevated. Your creatinine levels are like skyrocket. Creatinine levels are the indicators of your kidney functions. Those aren't working anymore. You're now on dialysis. So they put me on a dialysis thing. I was on that for about 1.5 years. And this is as I'm getting the diagnosis of the cirrhosis. And then she drops the major bomb and she says, Will, within a week and a half to 2 max, you won't be here anymore. And my parents looked at each other like they were like almost like, what did she just say? Like, Will, like the teacher, the kid that was like the nice one who went to class every day, like did all the right things, like never really hurt anyone's feelings. Like, I was always like conscientious. Like I always won that award. And then here I am, the youngest of all her 4 boys. And they just told them that I'm not going to be on this planet in 2 weeks unless like a miracle happens. My dad turns away in the corner. He couldn't even look at me. He was in disbelief. My mother is someone who it's difficult for her to hear challenging news. So she does what I do, where I learned it from was kind of like, let's not talk about that right now.
It's another form of drinking. So how did they end up giving you a liver if you're only 4 months sober?
By that point, I was about 4 months and some change, like 1.5. So they did I had to advocate for myself. I had to like genuinely sit down and advocate for myself in the most genuine, authentic possible way I could. I'm like, I expressed my transgressions. I said, I have a drinking problem. I've had it for a long time. I didn't ask for help because I thought I could figure it out on my own. And I just couldn't. I just couldn't figure it out on my own. I just kept trying to get sober and doing trying to do the right thing over and over, but constantly finding myself 9 p.m. every single night with a giant bottle of Canadian Club or Smirnoff vodka. Those are my 2 go-tos. I stopped the Canadian Club after a while because it smelled too bad. But there I was. They said, and she looked at me. She said 2 weeks, and the floor fell out under my feet. I heard like a ringing sound, like a like that kind of thing. Like that is a real thing when you hear something like that. And then this surgeon really sat down with me and was like, Will, like, we need to know though, if we go through with this whole process, like it's not easy. You're very sick already. There's a thing called a MELD score, which shows you, it's basically an indicator or like a category that you put people into. If like, how sick are they? How sick are they? It's like 1 through 40. And I was at a 40. I maxed the MELD score out. So I was 2 weeks left of life. So they said, okay, he's an emergency case. He's 35, 36 at the time. Let's try to see if this will work. So I go on the list. They put me on the list. I'm like, oh, okay, I might live. This is amazing. As I'm on the list, they're still doing all the medical care. I get the call. I'm already in the hospital at this point. So they just bring me down to the operating room, and I'm getting plugged in. They're doing the huge needle. They're doing the IV. And then at the last second, I said my goodbyes to my family. Like if I don't wake up, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I did this to my life. And I said all that. And then they were like, oh no, this won't fit. Like, it's too big. We don't like the way it looks. I was like, oh my God. So they sent me back up to my room. I waited another, I don't know, a couple days or something. And then I got the call, and that's when it happened. But I'll never forget the moment of walking down that second time with my father. He held my hand, and he wasn't an affectionate person whatsoever. But there we were holding hands as we're rolling down to the operating room, and he's got tears in his eyes, and he's like, I don't know how I know this, but I know that you're going to live. And it's, what are you going to do with your life after?
Spoiler alert, did it work? No. Sometimes you just got to lighten it up a little bit. But
I can show you.
Yeah. So listen, now, you get this done. You have a greater responsibility than just Will Gordon. Now you have a responsibility to whoever donated that liver.
Yes.
In order to protect that stuff. And now you're finally ready.
Yeah.
To start looking at life through sober eyes.
I was finally ready the moment that the last time I tried to drink, which was my dad's birthday, January 28th, 2023. It was his party. We were getting ready for his party, and I did it like I did the millionth time before. I took my Nalgene bottle, whatever you want to call it, the 32-ounce thing. I stuffed it with vodka, and it was almost like subconsciously I was walking up the steps, and I knew that my wife would see it because we were living with my folks. She sees it, she flips out, but with tears. And she's just exhausted from this whole thing. And then at that point, and I never had admitted this before, I said, I've had enough. Like, I've had enough. I'm so sick. I'm drinking. I can't have this anymore. And then I went down the stairs. My dad's like, what's going on up there? We had a huge fight. We never fight. And I looked at my father, and this is the first time that this has ever happened in our lives. And he was not a touchy-feely guy. I can't even remember, like, I count on one hand how many times he like hugged me as a child. He was much more affectionate further down the line as he got older. But in this moment, especially, like I go, Dad, I can't do this. I can't, like, I just need help. I just need help. And I said it like that, like, genuinely. And then he started to tear up, and we hugged for like a couple of minutes. And he's like, I know what you're feeling. I know what you're going through. Because he did know. So
now you're sober.
Yeah.
You got 2.5 years, you said, under your belt? Okay, so you got 2.5 years of your belt. So what has changed in your life through sobriety?
Yeah.
How has life gotten better?
Well, so I woke up. I couldn't believe I woke up. I looked at my wife with tears, and I said, hon, I'm going to live a different life. I'm going to be a different version of the person that you married. That person that you married is dead. This will never happen again. I will never jeopardize the value of the marriage that we're in. And I want to live a very long, happy life with you. So let's start now. So I started advocating for just how tragic and overlooked alcohol use disorder actually is. Like, how it can not discriminate, how it can pick apart a CEO of a company or a teacher, or it doesn't discriminate. It's your socioeconomic, doesn't matter. It will just get you if you are primed and ready for it, and you have those missing parts of your identity and your soul that alcohol loves to cling its hooks into. So that's what happened. I go, well, hon, I'm going to take all that pain, and I'm finally going to pay it forward. I'm going to no longer come at it from like a selfish, ego-driven perspective. I want to serve others. And I was serving as a teacher for all those years, but like haphazardly. Like, I was doing it half-assed because I was drinking. So like, so like now clarity, sobriety, embracing it, vulnerability, openness. How do I implement that? How do I serve? How do I help as many people others out there who are just like me, who are just looking for someone else to relate to? That's
Because
all it was.
now will has power. Okay?
Mm.
It's not willpower, the willpower to stop drinking. You have power because you've gone to hell and back, because you've lived this life. Now you see things through different eyes, and that gives you power. Okay, that's what suffering does. Suffering gives you power if you accept the transgressions, if you accept the mistakes that you made.
Yeah.
You now have power in order to affect others. And that way, whatever you went through, whatever mistakes that you did, whatever addictive behavior, it's not in vain.
Mm-hmm.
You have the ability in order to make sure or try to mitigate somebody else going down your same path.
Yeah.
And people are going to listen to you.
Yeah.
And why are they going to listen to you? Because you've already done it.
Yeah.
You've done it so they don't have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not getting everybody.
That's the tagline. My second chance is my second chance at life is your wake up call.
Yeah.
That's it.
So where can our audience find you? I know you got your Willpower podcast also on social media. Please, because there's going to be somebody out there that's listening to your story that says, I need to talk to this guy.
Absolutely. Yeah. Check me out on, I would say my Instagram would probably be the easiest way to reach me. So that's at the Willpower podcast, all one word. I just started a TikTok like a month ago. That's at the Willpower pod. And then my YouTube channel, which is where everything is. So that's on YouTube. It's the Willpower podcast with Will Gordon. And I have a Calendly link if you want some sober mentoring. I do that too. I just click it on my bio on my Instagram. Or just the Willpower podcast at gmail.com. Send me an email. I get tons of stories. Yeah, that's all I do is just kind of sit around and just help. That's like basically my life now is just how many people can I help today? And who's going to keep me sober as well? Like, that's what it is. It's not like a give. It's like, okay, well, they were keeping me sober today too. Like, we're all just in this boat together. A lifting tide just lifts all the boats. And that's
why I love doing this show, because, I hear things. And, as much as I allow people to get their stories out, I also grab things every single show. Yeah. I'm like, oh, well, you know what? I really like that. I might enact that or put that into play. Or maybe this person that I know in my life needs that type of, hey, listen, just listen to Willpower, The Suffering of Willpower, Will Gordon. He's got some stuff in there I think you might be interested in. So it is a form of talk therapy.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely a form of talk therapy. I have people that have overcome insane adversity. Some are going through it like right now, like the steps that I was talking about earlier in my story about being in the hospital, waiting. Like, I was that person for a long time, and I talked to one of those people a couple of weeks ago, and it was one of the most compelling episodes I think we've done because it was so helpful because we were talking about what to do, the indicators, like get your blood labs checked, get a CBC. This is anyone listening, watching. Get your CBC, your complete blood lab. Get your CMP, a complete metabolic panel. Check your ALT, your AST levels, your bilirubin, your creatinine level. Get those things all checked just to see where you are right now, like how much damage has already been done if you think you're drinking too much, okay? Because knowing that information is crucial to long-standing, lasting success in life, because then you'll be healthy enough to understand it, notice the issue, and then hopefully do something about it.
I think the biggest metric to whether you should get that done is, are you afraid of the results? Because if you're afraid of the results, go get it done.
Yeah, if you're worried, because you think that it might not be the best results, then that's an even, I'm urging you further to pursue the blood labs. Just, you don't have to tell anyone about it. You can just go walk in, just go do it. Go to a Quest. They have Quest labs all over the place.
So, Will, we're coming to the end of this, and I try to end this show every single way because, as I said in the beginning, suffering is a lesson, all right? And if you've chosen to take no lesson out of your suffering that you went through, what a wasted experience.
All right.
So this walk down alcohol addiction, this walk down with really trying to get your power back as Will, it's had to have taught you something. So what is your suffering of this whole entire journey that you've lived for the last, 25 years? What do you think it's taught you?
It's taught me to be kind to myself and to others for mistakes, because you don't know what you don't know, and to be compassionate towards others and understanding to always put yourself in someone else's shoes, because anyone can find themselves drinking too much for a month, for a year, for 2 years, for 5 years, for like myself, like almost a decade straight. Like everyone can see similarities in everyone else's stories. So share those stories and always come at it from a serving perspective. Don't worry about money. Don't worry about, just worry about helping first. And the second you can start helping people first, then doors will open, things will get better. Like don't have an outcome. Just do the act of serving and live a life with, in truth, and live a life in complete vulnerability and openness to be the best, highest version of your potential that you could possibly reach. Why wouldn't we do that?
Well, I certainly appreciate you. I appreciate your journey. And if you ever get in that moment of doubt, give me a call, because the stuff that you're doing now, it's a lot. It's worth it. Trust me, it's worth it.
Thank you.
All right. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that's going to do it for this episode of The Suffering Podcast, The Suffering of Willpower with Will Gordon. Let's think about all the stuff that we learned. Don't live a fear-based life. One drink can change everything. We can be contradictory characters. Addicts are great actors. Sometimes, and this is the most important one, sometimes we can't do it all alone. And sometimes you just had enough. Yeah. And that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to go to popple.com, put in the code TSP20 for a 20% discount on your digital business card. Follow us on all social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Clapper, OnlyFans. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson, and of course, follow the Suffering Podcast. We're going to see you on the next episode.